All right, here we are at concept 6.1. This is the first concept of the second trimester, so this is your opportunity to get off to a great start. If you don't already have double mastery, that's why you're here. And remember, if you don't have single mastery yet, and you do this intervention, and you get a 4 on it, be sure you come back and ask us for another problem. Ask me or ask Mr. Christman, hey, you know what, I get this now. I want to really prove I get it. I want that double mastery. And we'll make up another problem for you. So let's jump in. We're simplifying. Simplifying is not the same as solving. Solving would be where we figure out how much x equals. We're not doing that here. Here we're simply rewriting the problem in a simpler form. Anytime we see these parentheses, we're thinking multiplication. In this case, we're going to multiply the negative 4 times the 2x, and we're going to multiply the negative 4 times the 5. It's the negative 4 times everything inside. Let me just put a little underline right here. We're only working with those numbers so far. You'll notice the minus 4x at the end, it's not being multiplied by the negative 4. So we're not doing anything with it. We're just going to bring it down here in a moment. So when we multiply negative 4 times 2x plus, and then a negative 4 times the 5, negative 4 times a 5, and then minus the 4x. We're just taking this and we're bringing it down. We're not doing anything to it. Negative 4 times 2x. Well, negative 4 times 2x, negative 4 times 2, negative 8x, plus negative 4 times 5 is negative 20 minus 4x. You can leave that as minus 4x if you want to. I'm going to tell you, my experience, it's easier for students if they add the opposite. Instead of subtracting positive 4x, adding negative. Here's why I think students find it easier. Because now we have a negative 8x plus a negative 4x. When students do that, they can see 8 negative x's, 4 more negative x's, 12 negative x's, negative 12x, plus the negative 20. There's nothing else going on. There aren't any other ones, so that negative 20 is going to come down. You could also have written this answer. Let me just put an or here, or you could have written this answer as negative 12x minus 20. Either one of these, this one or this one, are correct answers. We can't go any further. We can't do the negative 12x and the 20 and create, I don't know, negative 32x or something like that. We have x's and we have 1's. We can't combine them. Think of the x's as being oranges and think of the 1's as being Volkswagens, and you can't put the apples with the Volkswagens. All right, so let's move on to the next problem. The next problem, same idea. We're simplifying again. We're not doing any solving. So we're going to move around to get the perimeter. Remember, perimeter is all the way around something, all the way around. Another thing students find really helpful is to take these values, and since they're only printed on one place, put them on the other part. So since this is 5x plus 3 on the top, it's also 5x plus 3 on the bottom. And since this is 3x minus 1 on the left, it's also 3x minus 1 on the right. Let me move this a little bit so there's a little more room to work. Again, instead of subtracting the 1's, you might want to write add the opposite. That's up to you. On this problem, you might not need it as much. So let's do this. Let's break the parts that we can do together. Let me change colors there for just a minute. These x's, we can add all those x's together. We can have 3x's and 5x's and 3x's and 5x's. They're all the same kind of thing. They're all x's. So 3x's and 5x's, that makes 8, plus 3 more make 11x's, plus 5 more gives us 16x's. Now let's add all the 1's. And when I mean the ones, I mean the things here that aren't x's. We're going to put all those together. So let's start at the top here. We have plus 3. Then if we move around, we have minus 1. Then we have plus 3. Then we have minus 1. Now, if you wanted to, let me write that one more way down below it. If you wanted to, you could do that as plus 3 plus negative 1 plus 3 plus negative 1. Both of these are the same. Subtracting 1, same as adding negative 1. Let's add them together now. 3 minus 1, that's 2, plus 3 more makes 5, minus 1 more makes positive 4. If I did it this way, I'd get the same answer. 3 plus negative 1 is 2, plus 3 more makes 5, plus negative 1 makes 4. However I write it, I'm going to get 4. This 4 can't be combined with that 16x. We cannot put them together. So our final answer, I'm going to stick it right inside, our final answer is the 16x plus 4. And that's going to get our box because that is a final answer. Okay, now if you tried both problems and you struggled a bit and you got this first set wrong and you know what you did now, when you get to the problems on the bottom, don't just start watching the answers. Take a minute to rework them if you need to. Take a minute to go back over them. Remember, the goal here is not how fast can you get this done. The goal should be how well can you get this done? How successful can you be? Can you become fluent at it? So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, give yourself a minute to check your work based on what you saw above, and if you need to rewind and look at those answers. In fact, let me rewind for you. Let's take you back to those two sets of answers while you think about your work on the ones below, and then start the video up in a moment and check your work. And if you want to, when you start it up, you can just forward all the way to the end and check answers, and then if you need explanations, go back. You'll see it's about 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Go back to that point, check the work. Here we go. We're ready to start working through these. So the same idea to start with. We're going to have those same rainbows. We're going to multiply negative 7 times 3, negative 7 times 4x. Nothing's happening to that minus 20 yet. So negative 7 times 3 plus, this plus sign becomes that plus sign, plus negative 7 times 4x minus 20. This minus 20, this just comes right down. We're not doing anything with it yet. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21 plus negative 7 times 4x is negative 28x minus 20. Now at this point, I'm going to suggest you change that to addition. Change that to plus a negative 20. Because then if we rewrite it, and we'll rewrite the parts together that go together. Negative 21 can be added to negative 20, and that can be added to negative 28x. But the only parts that can actually be put together are these parts, because these are 1s and those are x's. So negative 21 plus another negative 20 is negative 41 plus negative 28x, or if you would like, you could write it as negative 41 minus positive 28x. It doesn't matter whether you write your final answer adding the negative or subtracting the positive. It means the same thing. Let's jump to our perimeter problem. Writing the perimeter numbers all the way around helps us remember that we have to add 4 sides. That's one of the most common mistakes, is only adding 2 of the sides together. If you noticed, as you're playing the video now, if you realize, oops, I didn't add all the sides, pause it, finish out the problem correctly, and then come back and watch it. All right, so we're going to do the ones that we can put together. We can put the x's together. So I'm going to underline all those x's. I've got 4 x's 6 more x's, 4 more x's, 6 more x's, 4 and 6 makes 10, 14, 20 x's. Then I'm going to do the ones. So I have 2 minus 7 plus 2 minus 7 plus 2 minus 7 plus 2 minus 7. I really like making this adding the opposites, adding the negative amounts. I find that it really helps me be successful with it. So that's how I'm going to write it. If you left it as subtraction, we both need to get the same answer. 2 negatives plus 7 positives. I'm going to do this in parts. I'm going to do just these first two together. 2 negatives and 7 positives, 2 zero pairs. I'm left with negative 5 plus these two. And I get the same answer. 2 positives, 7 negatives, negative 5. All together, I have negative 10. And that's part of my final answer. My final answer is 20x plus negative 10. Or if I wanted to, I could write that final answer as 20x minus positive 10. Either one of these is correct because they both show the same quantity. All right, so by now you should have a pretty good sense of whether you understand this. If you still feel like you don't understand it and you need some personal attention, don't hesitate to let Mr. Christman or Mr. Willmarth know. They'll sit down with you and work some problems. I should say we'll sit down with you and work some problems. Or if you'd prefer, we can set you up with a student who understands this really well and you can do some peer tutoring. A lot of times students understand it better from one of their peers, their classmates, than they do from the teacher, because you've heard us explain it a couple times already, including on this video. So we'll get you the help you need, and then once you're ready, you can take that intervention test, you can show what you know, you can improve those mastery letters, those mastery numbers, and really be ready to move on to the next level. All right, thanks for watching the video, taking the time to do the problems, and we will see you in class.